Alright, so from whence we left off, we had the model done. I already recorded this once. My microphone went out, so I'm hoping this will work okay now. Anyway, so we have the model done, sort of. But the one thing we haven't been doing that we should have been doing this entire time is saving. So what I want you to do is just do File, Save As, or Save Scene As, or Control-Shift-F, Command-Shift-S. And then just save it as Dino _V01. So Dino, because that's the name of it, then an underscore, so that like this is like a separate kind of part of it, and then underscore V01, which just stands for version 01. So normally, as you're working, what you should be doing is save this, then say the next thing, like in 10 minutes, save underscore V02, Dino underscore V03, so on and so forth. So normally, I will have a whole like load of these. I'm not going to save it because I already saved it. I will have many of these in iterations. There's a couple reasons for this. One is, if you hand it off to somebody, they know which version's the last one, or like what's what. They're like, okay, well, this was the last one. Another reason is, if you need to go back to something, like there was something that you did, like earlier you made a mistake. Another thing that happens, which is kind of sad, is that Maya corrupts files quite a bit. So if the files are corrupted, you can kind of keep going back until you see where they're not corrupted. I've had to do that a lot. So Maya crashes more than any other program. So you might have already had a couple crashes already. So just be aware that that happens a lot. It's sort of just, this is the way it is. Okay. So the next thing we want to do, basically, besides save it, so you should have saved it, is now we save the scene, mind you, inside the project folder. Is what we want to do is we want to basically color our model, right? So what we need to do first, though, is that what you'll notice is that this model is actually made of a bunch of models, right? It's not one whole piece. Now, we can't actually like combine it. I mean, we could, but you're not ready for that yet. What we're going to do is we're just going to merge them together and call it a model. So in order to do that, what I want you to do is I'm going to back this thing up. All right, I'm going to back that thing up, and then I want you to click and drag over the whole thing. Then hold Shift and unselect the ground. So now you have just the dinosaur, okay, or whatever if you did a different animal. Just that, all right? Then what we're going to do is we're just going to go, make sure you're in the modeling menu set. You'll notice the different menu sets. And you're going to go to Mesh, Combine. Or you can push the two pieces of orange paper. Let's go ahead and rename this too. Let's just call it like Dino underscore Geo. So Dino, because that's what it is, and then underscore, and the type of thing that it is. In this case, we're going to call it Geo for geometry. We'll have other things we do like Dino underscore joints and Dino underscore curves, and you know what I mean. So that's just, it'll have, this isn't going to, but other models and things will. Go ahead and grab the grass, and we'll just call this like round underscore geo. All right, good. So now we have those. The next thing I want to do basically is apply materials. Okay, so to do that, you can either click the little blue ball up here, or you go to Windows, Rendering Editors, Hypershade. Okay, it's called the Hypershade. They like to make everything sound fancy. All right. Basically, what you see when you're looking at your model is the material. If you look, this is what the model is. It's this. You can't see that, right? It's points in space. There's not really anything there. What happens is that the computer calculates a material over top of it, and that renders to, they render out imagery to you. Okay, so this is real-time rendering because I can go like this, and basically it renders as fast as my computer can do its refresh rate, basically. So, but what we're actually seeing is the material. So we need to make unique materials for each object in this case, so the dinosaur and the ground. And then what we can do is we can apply things to those materials, such as color or texture or shininess, transparency. We can paint onto them those attributes, okay? So right now, everything by default gets this Lambert material. This is Lambert, this is Lambert. What do you think the particle cloud material is for? For particles. So basically the default, if you make a particle, uses that. Okay, so that's what these are like, just defaults. We're not going to use those, but that's why they're there. What I want you to do is click on Blend. Basically, Blend and Lambert are kind of like the two base materials that you typically see. Lambert, if you look, you can probably tell what the difference is already. Lambert doesn't have a specular highlight, meaning it's not shiny. There's no bright hot spot. Blend does. Now you can control it. I could turn it all the way down and then it would have none. but at least it has the option. So that's why I prefer blend over Lambert. You can always take the shine out, but you can't put the shine in. You know, like that whole thing. Anyway, so make one blend and then go ahead and make another blend. So we have two blends. So you just click on blend down here. So select the first blend and just call it grass underscore MAT for material. Okay, so grass MAT. Go to the other one, click and drag, and we're going to call this one dino underscore MAT material. All right, let's go back and we'll do the grass one first, a little bit easier. Okay, so basically you have the material here, we have it here, and then what we can do is we can adjust all these settings. The most obvious one is color. So click on color, and then I want you to make it green, because grass is green. Depending on what side of the side you're on, right? Sometimes it's greener on the other side. Anyway, so we're going to do the screen here. So I'm going to call that green, that's fine. Then there's transparency. It doesn't need transparency, right? The rest of this isn't really of value to us. We'll go into materials more later on, but I just want to make general materials. Speculative color is the only other one that I'm really concerned about, and that is the shininess. So if I take that all the way down, it's going to make it not shiny. Let's see if I go to try to see if they give me a better. These previews are just not like good. Sphere is what I was looking for, and let's do. Nah, that's not how. Okay, well, it's not previewing properly, but if I make it black, it'll make it not shiny, and if I make it white, it's going to make it super shiny. That's basically what those colors mean. I'm just going to take it and make it really low, because grass has a little bit of shine to it, but not a lot. Then what I'm going to do is I want to take this, and I just want to apply it to this model. All you're going to do is you're going to middle mouse button, see a little plus turns up, so middle mouse button, click and drag, and then let go over top of the thing. Okay? Still not previewing properly. Okay, so we'll go like that. And that's one way of applying. I'll show you some other ways too. Alright. Now, just so you're aware too, this material, like let's say I can also apply it to the dinosaur, right? It's just like I can have like a plastic material, right? I can have plastic, and I can have a plastic army man and a plastic cup and a plastic. They're all the same material, even though they're on they're different, molded into different objects. And if I change this, it's not really showing up so much there. If I change this, right, it will not preview. Is that gonna? So I think because I'm recording, it's not updating properly. This is one of those problems with Maya, is that sometimes it doesn't update. So it should be changing the material here. Let me see if I can fix that real quick. If this happens to you, one of the things you can do is go to Windows, Settings, Preferences, Preferences, and then you go to Display, and we're going to scroll down, and let's try Directs. Now, Render Engine will take effect next time I start. Okay. And I'll hit Save. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to pause it and restart it, and it should be red when we start it. Okay, so when we restart it, now you can see that it is indeed showing up as red, and good, now it's previewing. Okay, so you can see basically this material, when I change it here, is changing for all of the things that have that material applied to it. All right, so I'm just going to go back to making it green again, and we'll call that good. Okay, and obviously I want the dino to have a different material, so I'll show you another way of applying it. Instead of dragging it, I can select the thing I want to have it, and over top of the dino material, just right click and hold, and go Assign Material to Selection, and now that will have that color. Just another thing with what I showed you earlier, the Windows, Settings, Preferences, Plugin Manager, and then don't do that. Oops, I did Plugin Manager, sorry. Windows, Settings, Preferences, Preferences. Don't do this thing I just did. This. Don't do this unless you are having some sort of issue. What I would suggest, this is, if Macs have something different, you'll have different options here. Obviously, if you're PC, try DirectX 11. If that doesn't work, then do OpenGL Legacy. But normally, you shouldn't have to deal with this. It's just, I think because I'm recording at the same time, it's really stressing my video card with this being on top of it. So, I've never had that problem before. Anyway, so we applied the dino there, right? So that's good. Now what I want to do is I'm just going to give it a general color. I actually read an article, this was years ago now, but that they believe that dinosaurs may have actually been red. Tell me that wouldn't be like super awesome. So go like that. Okay, so we're making that color by default. Specular, I'll give them a little bit of shine. All right, and we're going to call that good. Okay, so now they both have this base material. So I just adjust those two and not anything else. Eccentricity is actually the tightness of it. So, oh look at, now it's doing the preview up here too. Yay! So you can see the more eccentric, the tighter the highlight will be. So if you want to make something look really perfectly wet or smooth, you want to up that. If you go like this, it'll spread out it more. Okay, so obviously for him, I'd keep it more spread out. But if I was doing like an eyeball, I'd probably want it really tight and centricity. And there's other things here too. Oh, take reflectivity all the way down too. That was the other one. Otherwise, he's going to actually be reflective. So also select the grass and take the reflectivity all the way down. Otherwise, they're going to be shiny, and we don't want that. You won't be able to see that real time, but when we go to render, it will show up. So make sure you grab Dino, turn reflectivity all the way down, and the grass, turn reflectivity all the way down. All right, we're going to call that good as far as materials. All right, so now we have the materials, but they're just solid colors. It'd be better if we could actually have subcolors on them, okay? So the way that this works is basically this. When you look at the materials, you don't have to open it up. I'm just going to show you. What we did is we gave them whole colors, right? So like the transparency, the entirety of the object has black associated with it, which means that it's just going to be not see-through, right? When I take the specular color, it's this. I'm taking the whole thing and making it that color. But what I could do is, just like the color, I could say, I want, instead of it just being the whole thing, I could attach a texture map, which will be an image that's laid over top of the model, and that will affect those attributes. In this case, we're just going to do colors. So I'm just going to say, when you treat the color, instead of making the whole thing green, I want you to use this image. But in order to do that, we have to basically rectify the fact that this is a 3D object, and an image is a flat object. So what you do is you do a thing called UVs, and basically it's your 3D model. Basically, it's like a 3D model. So imagine this is my model. It's a 3D hand. And what you do is you take that and you unwrap it like this. And then you can draw on this any way that you want. And that basically is go over top of the model itself. Okay? But so the idea is that basically, take like a cardboard box, right? You would have to unfold the box. You could draw on it, because it's got to be a 2D flat image. And then you could fold the box back over. That's what we need to do. So, we're not going to really do that because that's a whole thing, but I'm just going to show you. So with this selected, what I want to do is, again, make sure you're in the modeling toolkit or menu set, and then go to UV editor, okay? And what you're going to see are the UVs of the model. Now, by default, whenever you create a primitive, it already has UVs associated with it. UVs are the flat version of vertices. So basically, for every vertice that's here, if I grab a vertex, actually, I'll show you. Like, for every vertice I grab here, there's a corresponding, and vice versa, there's a corresponding UV. Okay? So basically, every point in here, I'm just going to be, every point in here that I have, or I select over here, corresponds to a point over there. The problem I have right now is that these are all actually on top of each other. Like, watch. See if I grab this. See, it's grabbing both this and this. So what I need to do is basically take all of this and lay it out. Because right now it's like all the pieces of paper on top of each other. So if I draw an eye up here, it's also going to draw an eye down here. So what I want you to do is right-click over top of it, go UV, right-click here. Make sure also that you have this object selected. So right-click, object mode, select him. Then if you don't have anything selected, don't show you any UVs, right? So you have to have the object you want to see the UVs. So have him selected. Right-click, go to UV, click and drag over the whole thing, all the UVs. So all of them are selected. And then you'll see this UV toolkit. If it doesn't show up, if you don't have it here, I'm actually going to snap mine, get in there, like that. All you got to do is go to Tools, and you'll see Show UV Toolkit. And it should pop up right there, you should see. Okay? So I want you to select them all, and then what we're going to do is I want you to go to Unfold, and click on Unfold. Hopefully it doesn't crash. There we go. And you can, basically what it's going to do is it's going to relax the shapes. Then what I want you to do is go down and open up Arrange. So we went to Unfold, and then with all of them selected, I clicked on Unfold. I'm going to uncollapse that. I'm going to open and expand this now. go to Arrange and Layout, and I want you to scroll down and click on Layout. And that's gonna organize them and make them fit inside of this space. Basically, our image is going to be this square, this one large square here. Again, we're going to go more into detail with this later, but just so you realize. Boom. That's good. That's all we need to do with that. Okay? It's not perfect, but it'll work. So just right-click over top of it, go Object Mode, so you're back to being normal. You can just close out of that. So now our thing is laid out as a bunch of patches that we can draw on. But we're going to just go ahead and draw right inside of mine. We never do this. This actually looks really ugly, but we're just going to give it a go just because it's easier to just do it right in here. Okay. So to do that, what I want you to do is we're going to switch from modeling, okay? Because whenever you're doing materials, that actually deals more with rendering than it does with modeling, because the material interacts with the light and the camera to render out our image sequence, our video that we will eventually see. So we actually have to go to rendering, okay? And then you'll see a tab here for texturing. You're going to click on texturing, and then I want you to select 3D Paint Tool and hit the option box. Option box will actually bring up the tool settings of it. And this is like a tool where we can draw on our thing, okay? Now, you'll notice it's like, no smoking, right? It's got like an X over it. And they're right, we can't draw over it. So the reason why is that there's no image applied to it, so we have to make that image first. So if you scroll down, you'll see Assign Edit Textures. Go ahead and click on that. And what's going to do is it's going to make an image file that then we can draw on. We'll never actually see it. We're going to draw on this, and it will look like we're painting on there, but what it's actually doing is it's translating what we're drawing in 3D onto a 2D image and then revealing it on the 3D image. So it's kind of a weird, but anyways, we're actually making a 3D image. Change your resolution to probably 1024 is probably good enough. Do 2048. Okay. Take the image format. Don't do my if because no one uses that. Go ahead and use PNG. I'm a big fan of PNGs. They're relatively low res, but they're not they don't take up a lot of space, but they're pretty small. And then when you're done with that, go ahead and hit Assign Edit Textures. And now, notice also it's on the color attribute. There's other ones here, but we're not doing those. We're just going to do color. Now what it did is it made an image that now we can draw on. Okay, so let's go ahead and I'm going to start doing it. Let's start, I guess they're giving us white here. So I'm going to scroll up and you can see we have this. We don't have a lot of options. I'm going to do this one. Color's white. Opacity is the strength of it, so that's like transparency. And then if you hold B and click and drag, just like when we do soft select, that changes the brush size. So I'm going to go ahead and I want to paint here. I want it to be mirrored. So what I'm going to do is up here, let's see if this works. Object X. Will that do it on both or no? Oh, it won't. Oh, I was hoping it would. Oh, you know what? This will have its own. Hang on a second. Go down to, is it stroke? Yeah, go to stroke, click on reflection, and make sure it's X. So stroke, reflection, X, and that way when we draw, I thought I undid that. Okay, now it'll draw on both sides. Very poorly. Okay. So, oh, my color's black. So I'm going to make this white to give my guy a white eye, sort of. Then I'm going to make it black, and I'm going to make it a harsh, and I'm going to go B. He looks great. Okay, I'm going to go back to this, and actually we'll go to this one, and I'm just going to give him green spots, because, I don't know, green and red, or even like these color green. Okay, and I'm just going to go here, and just, oops, I keep putting on the flood one. I meant to do it here. Okay, and I'm just going to kind of draw these stripes on him. Oops, I went too far. He is a nice, right, looking dinosaur. It's like Jurassic Park right now. This, like, the quality. Whoops. It won't let me undo. I have to fix that later. And I'm messing up all over. All right. And then what I can do is maybe give him this harsher. And we're just going to give him a tattoo on his leg. this. Okay. And then let's go ahead and go back to white. And he loves his mom. In case you're wondering, see? That's right. He's tough, but he's also soft. He's a guy that cares. Alright, so we can paint things like that. And then another thing I like to do, I'm going to use this eyedropper and grab that. So here's the eyedropper. So if you're trying to get the base color again, so what I would do is get that, and then what I'm going to do is this. It's a good idea to do a thing what we call pre-shading. So I'm going to darken the color now from where it was. I'm going to grab the really feathered one, okay? And then I'm going to take the opacity down a whole lot too, okay? And then what we're going to do is where it would be darker, so like under his belly and in areas, I'm going to paint it, I take the opacity down even more. I'm going to paint it a little bit darker. Oops, like inside the ground here. I'm going to paint it a little bit darker, if I can get in there, in some areas, so that, you know, it looks like it's like what we call pre-shading. And it'll make it pop a little bit more. So like that, and then I'll go a little bit lighter in other areas where more light would be exposed. Like so. Should have done that before I did the spots, but whatever. Okay. So it's good just to add general variation to stuff. It will kind of push it a little bit. And then let's go ahead and we're just going to add like, let's see, where's the hue shifter? There it is. Shift the hue a little bit this way. Desaturate it a little bit lighter. And I'm going to just, you know, usually their bellies have like that, kind of like a different color thing going on. So I'm just going to kind of do a little bit of that as well. I'm sure you get the idea. This looks terrible, but that's a thing. Okay, so you're going to paint it how it makes you feel warm and fuzzy, and you're going to be like, ooh, that looks like a thing that I did, right? And that's fine. That was the thing. So, yeah. So what are we at? Okay, so we're going to accept that as what it is. And then I am just going to hit like W. That'll get me back out of the tool. If this isn't showing up, by the way, when you're doing the texturing, I forgot to mention this. Make sure that you're in 6 mode. You know I said 4, 5, and 6, and 7? It's the same thing as pushing up here. There's wireframe, shaded, what is this one called? It's like, use default material. This is wireframe unshaded, textured. This is lighting, okay? So there's all sorts of stuff. All right. So anyway, make sure you got texturing on. For some reason you're having issues. Okay, so we're gonna call that good on this video, and then in the next one we'll do the lighting and rendering, and we'll export it out and be done with it. All right. So, but have lots of fun. Try to do cool things. All right. Good luck. See you in the next one.